This is Comet Picks by the Glick.
Hey, and I'm your host, Jason Glick.
How are you doing, Jason Glick?
I'm doing just fine, John. It's been an invigorating evening so far.
Invigorating, indeed. Well, what do you have in store for us,
All
sir?
right. Yes. I'm doing another author focus podcast, and I want to talk about someone who someone whose work was he had another volume of his work translated to English recently, and I was kind of struggling with how to address it, and I figured, okay, I'm just going to do this, as just talk about all of his work, or at least the three titles of his that have been published so far, which I consider like the minimum for doing one of these things. I'm talking about a creator named Inio Asano. Asano is a fairly recent talent who has emerged in Japan, like within the last decade or so, or at least in the aughts at least. He works mainly on it's like on kind of like on the fringe of things. You're not going to see his work in Shonen Jump or say even Kodansha's Afternoon, which is the home of Blade of the Immortal. But he's the kind of guy who likes to do character really really character driven stories with a touch of magical realism. It's like in them. Now it's like it I Viz originally tried to make a go of making him an established name years ago, back in the time when they really tried to push alternative manga, or at least less mainstream manga. It's like along with their Shonen Jump stuff back in the salad days when the manga boom was still going strong. And one title they published first to get his name out there was called Solanin. Now I talked about this years ago on my art manga podcast. This is way back in the day, back when I used to record these things one on one with John and the crew. It's like before we started doing these things over Skype. Just we're talking like ancient history and all. So, but Solanin remains my favorite work of his. But it's not to say that the other works of his that have been published into English are not worth searching out as well. Now, Solanin is a story. Is really an ensemble piece, but it focuses on Mako. She's working like she we're introduced to her. She's kind of like working in a dead end corporate job as an OL and office lady in Japan, and just thinking like, oh hey, her life. She feels her life is passing her by. She's living with her boyfriend Tanamura, and she's wondering, what is my life? Like, where's my life going and all? And so one day she decides, hey, after talking with her boyfriend when he's half asleep, she realizes, okay, I'm going to quit my job. I'm just going to let my let the fate carry me to where it will. So it's really a story of just being in your 20s, not knowing what you want to do with your life, and just trying to make some sort of sense of things. I mean, all of her friends are kind of afflicted with this particular disease, if you will, or not disease, malady, or just affliction, whatever. Anyway, Tanamura is he's working as in a graphic design job that only part time because he can't get full time work doing this stuff. His buddy Jiro, aka Rip, actually does have a full time job, but he just took over his parents' pharmacy, and then you've got their buddy Kato, who's like a super duper senior. I feel like he's pushing like 6 or 7 years as a senior right now. It's like not willing to graduate and move on to the real world and all. He does have a girlfriend though, who actually do wind up. They do actually wind up getting along pretty well, even if Kato has a weakness for taking young female underclassmen out on dinners if they kind of bat their eyes at him in a certain way. Anyway, but Solanin it really captures the feeling of just not knowing what you want to do with your life, and just the whole hey, I'm just gonna deal with things as they come and try to figure out what to do with my life as the day takes it. It works because Asano doesn't he does not take himself seriously at all. I mean, it's like this. I mean, the opening chapter basically involves Mako, um, like um, like realizing her boss has like really it's like really long nose hairs, not being able to take himself in, and almost laughing when he starts chewing her out. Getting annoyed at Tanamura when he's not listening to her, and then drawing over his face. But then at the same time, when he actually starts speaking words that really resonate to her, it's like he's doing this as he's got all of her scribblings all over her face. So it's fun. So it's funny and amusing. It's like even when it's talking about just serious stuff about the direction you want to take in your life, and it's not all fun and games in the sense that around the halfway point, because this is a 2 volume edition, condensed into one, that something happens that really like shocks Mako's life life and forces her to actually find some kind of direction, or at least just deal with things, and just like close the door, this current door in her life, and then go on to the next one. It's like being an arrested adolescent as I am. It's like even like reading this series. Say, oh, how long ago was it published? Yeah, originally published in 2008. Yeah, this series still resonates with me, even though I am solidly out of my 20s at this point. It's like I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I would recommend this to anyone. It's like who's just kind of still wondering, what do I want to do with my life, or just who has experienced that kind of thing. I mean, Asano is like a really skilled artist as well. I mean, his characters have a real have a real animated expressiveness to them, in the sense that he doesn't draw them. He's got some really insanely detailed backgrounds, but his characters have a certain elasticity to them, in the sense that they can they can do wild takes and have like certain like that kind of like the stereotypical manga expressiveness that some series have. It's here too, but he managed to know when to play, to like have his characters be that, go into these wild takes and these crazy expressions in order to make it work. It's like work in the most emotionally resonant fashion. That's really kind of pretentious and all. Yeah, his characters are kind of like prone to that kind of thing, but still, it's fascinating, fun series. And if you're gonna buy any series, any manga from him after listening to this podcast, Solanin is the one to do it. It got an Eisner Award nomination for best manga the year it was published. It didn't win, but had to remember like what it did that year. But oh well, I'm pretty sure I was rooting for Solanin that year. I know it. I'm sure. Anyway, but a year later, Viz put out another 2 volume collection of his work. Now this kind of tells you something right there, because if they did a 2-in-1 edition of Solanin, then it's like how badly did that sell that they had to split up his next volume into 2 volumes, costing $12.99 each. Solanin, for the record, is where's the price on this? Oh, $18. So yeah, it's like not only is it the best that he's released in English, but it's also the cheapest. Anyway, but Viz released "What a Wonderful World" the following year in 2 volumes. This is an earlier work from him, predates Solanin, and it's very much an anthology series. It basically focuses on on just like random characters trying, just like Japanese citizens just trying to get by, make it into this crazy and harsh world, from aspiring musicians who want, like the opening story is about a female musician who wants, it's like, who is tired of having people rely on her and wants someone to care for her, but then eventually realizing that she wants to form a band with one of her musician buddies in college after her apartment burns down. Oh, and she also hallucinates or dreams that her that her pet turtle, like during the inferno, casts off his shell and ran to freedom. So yeah, magical realism and all. then you've also but then you've also got like stories about a it's like a girl in elementary school who's bullied and confronted by a Shinigami who wants who taunts her and says, "Hey, you know, like nobody likes you. Are you gonna just go ahead and try to just gonna go ahead and die like everyone wants you to right there?" And then you also got the bandmate of the girl, who apparently the band she went in got great success, but then this guy left before that, and now he's just trying to struggle to make it as an office drone, and is prone to cursing in English, and also other stories like about like a like a low level yakuza thug who steals from his bosses, winds up kidnapping a schoolgirl in order to get have him get go out go out and get him buy him like essentials and stuff. Then like guys from cram school work trying to figure out what do we want to do, along with a former ballet dancer who gets high on cough syrup, and it's like the stories in What a Wonderful World are very scattershot and random, but they all like center around the central theme of just embracing life in all of its crazy permutations. Whatever setup you got, it's always the message is always like, hey, no matter how strange or crazy or depressing life may get, it's always better to just focus on living rather than rather than dying. In fact, it's not until the very end of the story. I mean, all these stories are interconnected in little ways between chapters. You'll see the characters, like how the characters connect to each other, but then the connections become more explicit in the later ones. But it's not necessarily essential to see how these stories hold together. But the thing is, after say the 16th story, starting with the 17th, things start to get maybe more than a little weird in the sense that, the Shinigamis start to become an active participant in the story. And they show, and they actually start like directly meddling with the characters, with the characters and their lives. That works fine for the next to the last story, as it kind of furthers the stories. No, not the next to the last, the next to the last story, and it shows you just how the characters are going to how they're going to live and all. But the that shows you that next to the last story shows you how they're embracing life and why they want and why they want to live, or why this one guy decided, hey, he dies, but then he decides, no, I want to live, and the Shinigami release him in order to have that second chance at life. But then you've got like the next to the last story, which shows you like the dangers of simply just standing still, because like in the end, it's not just enough to just embrace life. You also have to move forward as well. And in the final story, you realize that when he starts dropping hints about there's this disease that's going around, like people just like stop living and become dolls. And it's like, okay, yeah, you're going a bit too far here, Asano. It's like, yeah, I really like what you were doing right there, but trying to add like a global or at least national significance to this kind of stretches the boundaries for what we're just like like really solid character done in one character stories here. I mean, overall, I did enjoy what a Wonderful World, and at the end of it, I was certainly looking forward to like Viz releasing his next work the following year, like in say 2010, and that didn't happen. In fact, it was around that time that the bottom started falling out of the manga market, and so now lot of like creators, a lot of publishers started getting a lot more conservative about what they brought over and all. It's like it took a couple of years that Viz eventually seems to have Viz in particular has become a lot more conservative about what they're bringing over these days. Meaning, in fact, much as glad as I am to see that they're bringing over Naoki Urasawa's one of his earlier series, Master Keaton, but at the same time, that's still we're working with an established artist here. It's like so we're just like we are still going with what has worked before. So and on one hand, like yeah, they've got plenty of artists who have like been good to them that I'd love to see more from. But we're getting to a more conservative era here. I mean, at least we've got like people like Vertical who are still going to publish like out there series, and also Fantagraphics who well Fantagraphics is kind of a funny company in the sense that they will publish stuff that they like regardless of whether or not the market or the mainstream likes it. Or taste of the mainstream be damned. Fantagraphics will publish this stuff anyway, and the most that's the biggest reason I can think that we got late Asano's another work from Asano, Nijigahara Holograph. Now, this is something that came out like several weeks back, and I've just been really struggling to put my thoughts into words, either in print or here, for how they go. Because I'll be honest with you, I think it's not that I didn't enjoy Nijigahara Holograph, because there is stuff to enjoy here. Asano really does a good job of conveying like how cruel it's like elementary schoolers can be to each other if they're left to their own devices. But he's also good with just like showing like with creating showing how the characters age out and how they've matured into adulthood, or not matured, for lack of a better term. But the thing is, Nijigahara Holograph is it's one of those series where I was tempted to look up analysis of Nijigahara Holograph just to figure out how all this is supposed to work together. Because as one of my favorite films in recent memory, Dodgeball. I'm comparing this to to a Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn film, but there's this one great moment in there where when Ben Stiller's character White Goodman is he meets this he's trying to hit on this one girl who's also kind of hot for Vince Vaughn as well, but then she's visiting his place, and there's this mural of Ben Stiller's character wrestling a bull to the ground painted on the wall, and he goes, "Oh yeah, that's a metaphor, but it really happened." That's the feeling I get from Nijigahara Holograph. It's like there's a lot of stuff here that's like it's a metaphor for something else, but at the same time, a lot of this, like, there is an actual story here, and it's really weird in the sense that it deals with the end of the world, but it's the end of the world brought on by butterflies. It's like possibly eating all of our shit, really, or at least all the food and whatnot, and climate change, and it's insane. But I still haven't gotten around to just talking about the basic thrust of the story. I mean, it's all the story centers around a girl who once who in elementary school told a story about the end of the world, and all of the kids were just so freaked out by just like how she just would not shut up about this. They just like eventually like just willed her and taunted her and teased her and pushed her into this, into falling down a sewer, and like she's remained in a coma ever since. And while the characters like from transfer student it's like Amahiko, class bully Kota, let's see, what do we get here? It's like her dad Kimura. It's like all these characters. See all these characters who are just just like connected to her. It's like, and just like trying to dealing with like the aftermath of like what they did with her, or if not directly, but in the sense that she is now in a coma, and just trying to figure out what she is. It's like how what she said and how her coma, her status is like affected her life. It's it's a really weird and abstract series, and the reason I'm having trouble talking about it and articulating all this is because in the end, there is not a coherent there is not like a big, like, oh, this is what it means type ending. It's a very esoteric kind of like story in the sense that once they've like these characters have reached the end of the story, and like because I get the feeling that because these characters didn't change, it's like they are doomed to live out to live out the end of the world. One character actually decides to explore the underground where the girl was pushed in, and he was subsequently pushed down as well afterwards. And he explores it, follows it through to the very end, and he wakes up in a different world, apparently a happier world, where that avoids where, like, all of our natural resources being eaten up by butterflies. Um, like it has all of his artistic strengths, from the description of the characters to the backgrounds, and there's also like really like lots of really interesting things, from the from the boss of the cafe being a not entirely right in his head, to the teacher of the kids during their grade school years, suffering a debilitating injury that eventually causes her to retire, and may even have caused her to murder her husband and kids. But that's kind of like left up to you to describe. Nijigahara Holograph is a disturbing, challenging work that on one hand, it's like that it's not because of what Asano has previously written that I feel challenged to puzzle out its meaning, but there is enough stuff with the characters to get me invested in their fates, that I do want to find out just what is the story being told here. So overall, it's like I'd love to see more of his work released in English, particularly Goodnight Punpun, which I read together with a friend of mine a couple of years back. It's a very different story in the sense that it involved that Punpun is a cartoon bird, kind of like a very cheaply drawn bird with that exists along with the he's drawn very simple lines, but he's also exists in the world with drawn in Asano's realistic style. But his family, they're also drawn very cheaply as well. But the thing is that gets you that you were kind of wondering, well, what's he doing with this here? But then you see that that Punpun's domestic situation is kind of fucking terrible. Is that his parents argue and shout at each other each night. And then at one point, Punpun comes home and finds that he's a little cartoon bird, and his little cartoon bird dad has beat his cartoon bird mother's skull in with a bat, and it's like, wow, fuck. And it's like and then you realize that the reason he did this is because hey, you done this in his regular style, and you just would have gotten people to just shut off at this point. But then you see this, and it's so horrible, and yeah, it's happening to cartoon characters, but you're just able to process it just simply because cartoon characters. I mean, shit. But then he goes to live with his dad, and then goes to live with his uncle, who doesn't quite have things together. But then he meets a girl who he kind of has a crush on, and realizes it's kind of maybe it was okay to go and live on. That's the first chapter. I would love to read more of that. If Fantagraphics or say Vertical or even Viz, want to pick up the Inio Asano torch, I would love to see them do that, because that would be amazing. Because like I said, even with something like Nijigahara Holograph that doesn't quite engage me on the level that his other works have, it's still something that I still want to puzzle out. It has enough stuff in order to recommend. That being said, What a Wonderful World and Solanine, it's both worth your time. Again, thoroughly entertaining works as well. I'd love to see more of this guy. I don't know if we will, but hope springs eternal. John, so I know you're still there. Any
Oh, I'm still
thoughts?
here. Oh, not particularly at this point, but interesting nonetheless. What do you have for us next time, sir? Or do you have any final closing thoughts?
Oh, I wish I did. Oh, um, in fact, like we're recording this on Monday of the week you're listening of this week, and after let's say 30 months, we have finally got. I finally have the volume 14 of Eden. It's an endless world in my hands, and you'll be reading that. My thoughts on that most likely on Thursday, tomorrow. For those of you listening to this, very like right this is instant when it goes up on Wednesday. But yeah, but one of the things I do want to mention is that I'll mention this again in the post because I talk a lot of shit about Dark Horse in the sense that like I get the feeling that they're just like not doing a whole lot in terms of like manga publishing, and that they're slowly winding down. Like they're like their core series like Blade of the Immortal, Oh My Goddess, and Gantz. They're all ended. They're wrapped up, and they're not announcing any new series, or at least they're not announcing it. We will find out more about that once SakuraCon rolls around. But it's like I figure that I talk a lot of shit about why Dark Horse like is failing or winding down as a manga publisher, but I don't talk enough about why I bring this up because I want Dark Horse to succeed. I love their series. I love their mindset. I mean, I want more of the stuff they used to publish, back in the day. The stuff that the mentality that spawned that got them to publish series like Blade of the Immortal and Eden, the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service, Gunsmith Cats, released the first series, stuff like that. And I figure that the best way to do this is to buy more Dark Horse manga. So that's what I want to emphasize, and I'm going to repeat this again. It's like when I'm talking about my review of Eden. I haven't read Eden yet, but like I said, that's the plan. I mean, God knows I'm going to be extremely bitter if I read Eden, volume 14 of Eden, and find out that it's absolutely terrible. But I'm really hoping that's not the case. So keep hope for Thursday, I guess. But hey, if unless something else pops up on my list, I will most likely be talking about Garth Ennis presents Battle Classics in 2 weeks because that's something else that I've wanted to talk about, just haven't gotten around to doing for one reason or another. Plus, it's a really thick book that has like that talks about that has three main cores to it, and to write about it, I'd probably be doing it for about three or 4 days. So that's that's what I've got right now. So
All right, and we'll see you next time on Comet Picks by the Glick.
all right, later, everyone.
Night.